Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
You don't have anything to say about these accusations that you're overhyping the problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good job yesterday. I appreciate your sales team. I appreciate your sales team.
I didn't see an invasion at the border.
Oh, you didn't? I know. That's because we had a wall.
The president's assertions are refuted by his own government. His own government reports that the majority of drugs which come across the border come through ports of call. The Democrats have offered up money to increase security at ports of call. In addition, the funding of a border wall was the subject of the 2016 midterm elections, or I should say the most recent midterm elections. And during the midterm elections, President Trump went out and campaigned for candidates saying, got to vote for Republicans, build that wall. The Democrats picked up more than 40 seats in the House of Representatives. They ran on no wall funding. The Democrats who control the purse in the House of Representatives have said no wall funding. The president has said yes wall funding, and he closed down the government as a result. Chris Wallace is with us in Washington. You wonder how long this will go on, this just speaking past each other business.
Well, it's going to go on because Congress is already out of session, so it's going to go on at least until tomorrow, which will be the 22nd day, which will be the all-time record for a government shutdown in American history, with no sign, as you say, of this closing anytime soon. The real headline out of this today is that while yesterday the president seemed on the verge of declaring a national emergency and saying that he was going to repurpose funding that either went for disaster relief or military construction to go to build the wall, today he said flatly that he's not going to do it anytime soon, that he wants Congress to solve this. And I think part of the reason is because of a concern. If he does declare a national emergency, there'll be a lawsuit. As he said, it'll probably go out to one of the district courts in the Ninth Circuit. And the experience has been that they'll find a judge there who will rule against the president and stop the building of the walls, stop the national emergency. The government will reopen and the president won't have his wall. All he'll have is a lawsuit that will go on for months or even a year. So that way he wouldn't get his wall. He'd have gotten the gesture but not the wall. So he's going to continue to fight this on.
But the way you just described it, there's no win for him.
Well, one idea that's being suggested, it's not necessarily a win, but it might shuffle the deck, and it's an intriguing idea. One idea that's being mentioned is that the president would agree to a 3-week pause in the shutdown. He would reopen the government, a continuing resolution, fund all the agencies for 3 weeks, and give Congress those 3 weeks and say as a deadline, if you don't come up with something at the end of those 3 weeks, then I'm going to declare a national emergency. That sort of ends the shutdown and the prospect that has begun in earnest today, where 800,000 government workers aren't being paid, and it would put a lot more pressure on Democrats and Republicans in Congress to come up with a solution. Now, whether or not, under any circumstances, Democrats are going to agree to finance a wall is an open question. But it would at least shuffle the deck. Because, well, the way we're headed right now...
How is that an open question? I mean, Democrats have said from the beginning, the experts say walls don't work. You can go over them, you can go under them, you can come in through a different way. Most of our problems are through ports of call anyway. They ran on no wall. They've said there'll be no funding. They've said there's no way we're going to give you funding. It's against our moral standing in the world to do this. That's from Nancy Pelosi. So why in the world would the Democrats back down now while the president has no path to whatever victory on this campaign promise that isn't even the original campaign promise? That was Mexico will pay for it.
Well, because the argument would be that if he can make it seem that he's not being unreasonable and he isn't digging his heels into the ground, but it's the Democrats that are being... I mean, you say walls don't work.
I didn't say it. The Democrats said it.
Yeah, but walls do work. I'm not saying that you need a 1,000-mile wall or a 2,000-mile wall, but obviously Democrats have approved hundreds of miles of wall in the past. We got a wall in Tijuana.
They said they're not approving a wall now, no matter what.
Walls are, some walls are improving it. I'm not sure that they wouldn't agree.
I just know that's what they said.
Let me just say, it would clearly have to be a bigger deal. They're not going to just cave on the wall. They'd have to get something in return, and that obviously would have to be some protection, whether it's for the dreamers or people with a temporary protected status, or maybe you go really big and go for comprehensive immigration reform. I don't think they have enough time to do that. But at least if he reshuffles that, I'm not saying he's going to do this or I'm advocating that he does it, but there is talk about that in Washington.
You know, the Democrats are also saying that the president's using 800,000 federal workers, TSA agents and Coast Guard people and all the rest as pawns in a political game.
Well, it's a question I asked Sarah Huckabee Sanders on Sunday, that they are the president is in effect holding them hostage because there's no obvious connection between a TSA worker in the Department of Transportation and a border wall. No obvious connection between an IRS agent or an FBI investigator and the wall. And, you know, the only reason that they want this broad government shutdown, it's only 25% of the government, but that's still hundreds of thousands of workers, is because it gives the president more leverage. But that is one of the weak points in their argument, the idea, why do you have to shut down agriculture and Treasury and Justice and all these other departments if this is a fight over Homeland Security and the wall?
I guess we'll see what happens, as the president might say.
Yeah, I think we'll see what happens. I think that's a fair prediction. I'll tell you what's going to happen on Fox News Sunday.
Great.
We're going to have Senator Lindsey Graham, who was trying to get a compromise. Mike Pence said, nope, no DACA deal. We're going to wait and see what the Supreme Court does on that. Now he's calling for declaring a national emergency. We'll get his latest thinking, and he met with the president today, so he may be able to tell us what the president's latest thinking is. And then we'll also talk to Democrat Chris Coons, a Democratic senator from Delaware, and get the latest thinking of Democrats in all this. Is there the possibility of compromise, or are we just going to shut down 25% of the government forever?
Well, he said months or years if necessary, didn't he?
He did.
The Rebels are playing at Mississippi State on Sunday at 1 o'clock, Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So if you're not doing anything,
is that in football?
It's basketball. Football's over, Chris.
Well, okay. So now
they're different.
Now that the Rebels
season.
are really struggling,
they've won 9 in a row, and they're 2-0 in the SEC, and Mississippi State's 0-1, and I'm excited about it. Please give me that. And then it's baseball season. I'm excited about that too, Chris. Things that make me happy.
Who you rooting for there?
The Rebels, Chris.
We're now talking about college baseball?
It's coming February 13th. It's going to be crazy at Swayze. Yes.
How did Ole Miss do in football? That's the big sport.
Why don't you want to talk about the past, Chris? I like the future. It's bright and rosy.
You sound like Donald Trump.
It's colored in red and blue. Don't ever say that again. My goodness. I'll be watching before the Rebels. The Rebels are on at 1 Eastern.
Okay, well, good.
I'm pretty sure they're on CBS. So down there, here in New York, that'd be Channel 2. I don't know what channel CBS.
Are they going to be on national?
Yes, they're going to be on national television, just like you, Chris.
Well, Fox News Sunday, do not compare it to the Mississippi Rebels basketball.
You're right. Rebels, I apologize.
Yes, I accept your apology.
Coach Kermit Davis and the Rebels going to have a big day on Saturday down at the Hump. You better watch that stuff. Your show will be over. You won't have anything to do for 6 more days.
Okay.
All right.
Are we done yet?
Yeah, I guess. Tell Mrs. Soup hello and all the best, my friend.
I will indeed. Same to you, Shep.
All right, howdy toddy. Defense officials say that they've started the process of withdrawing. He's shaking his head. Look, take his picture again. He's pulling off the mic. Look at him. Look at him. I don't blame you, man, but, you know, there's enough bad. We have a moment of this is all headed with the shutdown set to become the longest in U.S. history. Here in New York City, violent crime rates are the lowest they've been in 7 decades. The violent crime rate is the lowest of any major city in America. Streets are clean. Things are good. Come visit us. The news continues in a moment. We're about to get a tape playback. In fact, the president's tape playback is beginning now. This is about border wall and all the rest. Listen.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. President, any message to the federal employees who are not being paid today?
Yeah, the message is that I appreciate their service to the country. They are incredible people, the federal employees that we're talking about. But many of them agree with what I'm saying and what the people in this room who are experts are saying. They don't want to see people killed because we can't do a simple border structure. and I appreciate their incredible support. We have, yesterday, I was watching this morning and reading this morning that so many people are saying the president is doing what's right, and even though it's affecting us short-term, temporarily, as you know, a bill was just passed, which I will sign in Congress, making sure that everybody's going to be paid immediately upon when this is over. But I just really appreciate the fact that they have handled it so incredibly well. And many of them agree with what we're doing. We have no choice. Steve, go ahead.
Well, 24 hours ago, you were saying you were probably going to declare a national emergency.
No, I said I could do it, but well, I'll tell you what. It's the easy way out, but Congress should do this. This is too simple. It's too basic. And Congress should do this. If they can't do it, if at some point they just can't do it, this is a 15-minute meeting. If they can't do it, I will declare a national emergency. I have the absolute right to do it. It says as clear as you can. Now, what will happen? I'll be sued. It'll be brought to the Ninth Circuit. And maybe, even though the wording is unambiguous, just like with the travel ban, it'll be appealed to the Ninth Circuit, and we'll probably lose there too, and then hopefully we'll win in the Supreme Court. But that's what happens. You can take the most perfectly worded document, as we have in this case, and they'll always bring it to the Ninth Circuit. And then you never know what's going to come out of the Ninth Circuit, and you never know what's going to come out on appeal. But fortunately, we have a Supreme Court that's treated us very fairly. So I'd rather not do it, because this is something that Congress should easily do. This is something that the Democrats should do. And I don't want to give an easy way out of something as simple as this. Not only simple, it's easy, and it's going to secure our country. You know, we have a country that is under siege. You could actually, you know, a lot of people don't like the word invasion. We have a country that's being invaded by criminals and by drugs, and we're going to stop it. So I want the Democrats to come back to Washington and vote. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
You don't have anything to say about these accusations that you're overhyping the problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good job yesterday. I appreciate your sales.